Perfect. Perfect.
All right, everybody, what's going on? And welcome to today's edition of SWAC Talk. This is the show we cover the SWAC inside and out. And I'm your tour guide around the SWAC Seawells coming at you. And it is the regular season is basically over. We have 1 week of football left. Everything has been decided now, so there's no need for any chaos heading into the final week of the season. Prairie Panthers are now the West Division champs, and they would take on Florida A&M Rattlers in Tallahassee on December 2nd, I believe, the SWAC championship game. So we there now, man. It's on and popping, and we're gonna get ready for that. But first, before we get to that point, we're gonna talk about all the games that took place on week 12. Pretty much everything went, the opposite of the way I picked it, but it went the way that most people wanted it to go. So we're gonna go ahead and talk about all that action. As usual, you can check out the socials, facebook.com is SWAC Talk, Twitter, SWAC Talk 76, Instagram, SWAC Talk. Don't forget to subscribe to the channel. Since you're already here, if you haven't done so already, once you hit that subscribe button, we over 1,130 subscribers. So numbers are going up, and I thank y'all for that. If you haven't subscribed yet, man, go ahead and hit that button. We still got a lot of stuff coming. We got coaches positions coming open. We're gonna have a lot of talk about the Southern coaching search. Texas Southern coaching search if that goes through, and any other coach that happens to leave for whatever reason. If there's any other coaching searches going on, we're gonna definitely have that coming at you. Finally, gonna drop our men's basketball preview on Monday, and I think Friday or Saturday. We'll have our women's preview dropping. So we're gonna start dropping some basketball previews, and don't forget to check that out. Also, don't forget to hit that like button. Feel free to comment and share. Hit the join button if you'd like to become a member. Otherwise, you can hit the super thanks to show a little love for whatever video you're watching. Or you can support the show through Cash App, $SWAG Talk. It'll all be appreciated. So let's go ahead and get into this, man. We're gonna start off with the Thursday night game. Bulldogs at Alabama A&M close out their season with a victory at home, defeating Valley by a score of 30-21. This game was pretty much A&M led this game 21-7 at the half. Valley scored 2 touchdowns in the second half to kind of cut the margin down, but a couple scores by A&M kind of kept it pretty comfortable. They won by 9. So they were able to close out their season with a win and in that 3-game losing streak that they had that kind of derailed their season. They started off the scoring with 9:32 left in the first when Donovan Eaglin ran a 17-yard touchdown, extra point good, 7-0. With 4:15 left in the first quarter, Cameron Young will catch a 14-yard pass from Quincy Casey, extra point good, 14-0. Valley would get on the board with 2:46 left in the first, when Carrick Ross would catch a 64-yard pass from Tygerian Williams, extra point good, 14-7. Second quarter, 10:51 left. Marvin Smith would get a fumble recovery for a touchdown, extra point good, 21-7. And that would be our halftime score. Third quarter, Eaglin would get his second touchdown of the night, this time from 67 yards out, extra point no good. That came with 14:10 left in the third quarter. 27-7. Valley would get a touchdown with 8:03 left in the third when Williams would run a 1-yard touchdown run, extra point good, 27-14. Valley would cut the lead down to 6 when Jackson Davis would catch a 62-yard pass from Williams with 12:54 left in the game. That would make the score 27-21 after the extra point. And then the Bulldogs would basically close the door on Valley with a 37-yard Victor Barbosa field goal with 4:29 left in the game, capping a 13-play 50-yard drive that took 8:21 off the clock, made the score 30-21, which would be the final score of the night. Valley finished with 8 first downs, A&M 19. Valley finished with 45 yards rushing, 1.6 yards per carry, 1 touchdown on 29 carries. Bulldogs 264 yards on the ground, 52 carries, 5.1 yard per carry, 2 touchdowns. Big game on the ground for them. Valley 10 of 18 through the air, 2 touchdowns, 1 interception, 223 yards. Alabama A&M 170 yards through the air, 12 of 21 passing, 1 touchdown with 2 interceptions. 268 yards of total offense for Valley, 47 plays, 5.7 yards per play. They fumbled 4 times and lost all 4, so 5 turnovers for Valley in this game. Definitely a rough night for them keeping control of the football. They had 4 penalties for 21 yards. Bulldogs 434 yards of total offense, 74 plays, 5.9 yards per play. They fumbled once but didn't lose it. 6 penalties for 45 yards for the Bulldogs. Valley averaged 47.3 yards per punt. A&M 39.7. 21 minutes and 4 second time of possession for Valley. Didn't have the ball much, and when they did, they totally turned it over. 38-56 for the Bulldogs time of possession. Valley 2 of 10 on third down, 0 for 1 on fourth down. Bulldogs 8 of 17 on third down, 1 for 1 on fourth down, 1 for 1 in the red zone for Valley, 3 of 5 for A&M. 2 sacks for Valley, 2 for A&M. Valley 3 of 3 on extra points. Bulldogs 3 of 4. Valley didn't kick a field goal. Alabama A&M was 1 for 2 on field goals. Individually, Williams finishes the night 10 of 18, 223 yards, 2 touchdowns, 1 interception. He was sacked twice. Casey 12 of 20, 170 yards, 1 touchdown, 1 interception. He was sacked once. Jared Wilson, 9 carries, 26 yards for Valley. Jacoby Thomas 10 for 23. Eaglin 27 carries, 207 yards, and 2 touchdowns. He averaged 7.7 yards per carry. Big game for him to close out the season. Ross 3 for 94 in receptions for Valley, 1 touchdown. Davis 3 for 83 and a touchdown. Jacoby Hewitt led the Bulldogs with 4 catches for 115 yards. Jaron Fox led Valley with 8 tackles. Omar Emons with 7. Also, Stephon Smith had 7. Quinny had 2 tackles for loss. Alexander and Fox had a sack apiece. Smith had a forced fumble. Interceptions went to Canada and Williams. Bulldogs were led by Jordan Mitchell and Xavier Billingsley, each with 8 tackles. They also each had 1 tackle for loss apiece, along with Colson and Fieldings. Wesley also had a tackle for loss. Sacks went to Mitchell and Billingsley. Forced fumble, Billingsley and Petway. Recoveries went to Ellis, Campbell, Wesley, and Smith. Interception went to Pate. I think that's his 4th on the year. So, big game to close out the season, especially on the ground. That was the kind of rushing effort that we kind of look for this team heading into the season. This offense was, they were up and down, but when they were up, they were really good. They just couldn't consistently do it, but they were able to get the job done here and close out their season at home with a nice victory. Our next game that we will cover, and these will be our Saturday games, and we'll start off with the most surprising game on Saturday. I don't know how many people watched this game. I had the chance to go back and watch it. Texas Southern continues to find ways to not win games, and this one was a huge surprise. They lost to Pine Bluff by a score of 35-34. Texas Southern led this game 31-7 at the half. 22-point fourth quarter gave the Golden Lions the victory. Texas Southern only scored 3 points in the second half. Basically, after the fourth quarter, the score was after the third quarter, the score was 34-13 before the Golden Lions went on a scoring run and basically won this game. But this brings into question, what goes on with Coach McKinney. There were reports that they were gonna not renew his contract. A game like this is the 3rd loss that they had. I think this is the 3rd loss they had that they were leading the bulk of the game. Lots of 1-score losses. Just a rough season for the Tigers. So we'll see where they go with this. Some people feel like, maybe he should get another chance. Some people feel like this may have been the thing that slammed the door shut. So we'll see. But salute to Coach Hampton and the Golden Lions. I've been riding that team really hard this whole SWAC season. calling them to get right game, and they got right in this game. So I like the way that this team did not fold. I mean, they were they were on the brink of getting blowed out again. They scored the most points that they scored all season in this game. Heck, if you took their fourth quarter point total, that would have been their second highest game total of the season. So they really were able to really just withstand the adversity and fight, and they pulled out a victory. So salute to Coach Hampton and those guys for fighting, and they're gonna be dangerous if they can, kind of put some things together. So wouldn't really count them out. But the first quarter was the Ladarius Owens show for Texas Southern. He had 3 touchdowns in the first quarter, one from 3 yards out, one from 2 yards out, and one from 30 yards out. That gave Texas Southern a 21-0 lead after the first quarter. Johnny Williams would get the Golden Lions on the board with 9:35 left in the second quarter, when he ran a 1 yard touchdown run that made it score 21-7. 6:57 left in the second quarter. Texas Southern would get a 96-yard fumble recovery, scoop and score, extra point good, 28-7. And then with no time left in the first half, Romero Gustavo would kick a 33-yard field goal for the Tigers to send them into the locker room of 31-7. 3:46 left in the third. Kenji Lewis would catch a 17-yard pass from Mekhi Higgins. Extra point good. Extra point was blocked, 31-13 was the score at that point. Romero would get another field goal with 10 seconds left in the third quarter, again from 33 yards out. That would make the score 34-13 after 3. Mekhi Higgins would score 2 touchdowns in the second half. In the fourth quarter, one from 4 yards out on a run. That would make the score 34-21 after the extra point. Then the Golden Lions would block a punt and return it 30 yards for a touchdown after a lateral on the punt block return. Extra point good. They went for 2 on the first touchdown to make the score 34-21. Then they would kick the extra point on the second touchdown to make the score 34-28. And then with 1:46 left in the game, Mekhi Higgins would run a 5-yard touchdown to make the score 35-34 after the extra point. Let's look at the final possession for Texas Southern. Excuse me. They would get the ball with 1:35 left at the 35-yard line. Trenton Leary will run for 7 yards to the TSU 42. Jace Wilson would throw an incomplete pass on 2nd and 3. 3rd and 3, he would throw another incomplete pass, and then Darius Owens would be stopped for 1 yard at the 42 to wrap up this game, and then Pine Bluff would get the ball back with 54 seconds left, and then they would basically run the clock out and get the victory. So really, really nice comeback for Pine Bluff. Continues to be a head scratcher for Texas Southern as they finish their season in a really disastrous manner. I mean, they did have that big win against Alcorn, but they continue to lose games that they should have won. So, that's just something that they're going to have to go back and look at. Pine Bluff 20 first downs, Texas Southern 18, 198 yards on the ground for the Golden Lions, 38 carries, 5.2 yards per carry, 3 touchdowns, 194 on the ground for Texas Southern, 41 carries, 4.7 yards per carry, and 3 touchdowns. 193 yards through the air for Pine Bluff, 15 of 37, 1 touchdown, no interceptions. 143 yards through the air for Texas Southern, 18 of 32, no touchdowns, no interceptions. 391 yards for the Golden Lions of Pine Bluff, 75 plays, 5.2 yards per play. They fumbled 3 times and only lost 1. They had 5 penalties for 35 yards. 337 yards for Texas Southern, 73 plays. They averaged 4.6 yards per play. They fumbled twice and lost them both. They had 6 penalties for 54 yards. Pine Bluff punted for a 40.5-yard average, 33-yard average for Texas Southern. Time of possession, 30:03 for the Golden Lions, 29:57 for the Tigers. Pine Bluff 4 of 15 on 3rd down, 1 for 1 on 4th down. 6 of 16 for Texas Southern on 3rd down, 0 for 1 on 4th down. 4 of 6 in the red zone for the Golden Lions, 4 of 4 for the Tigers. No sacks for Pine Bluff, 1 for Texas Southern. 3 of 4 on extra points for Pine Bluff, 4 for 4 for Texas Southern. Pine Bluff was 0 for 1 on field goals. The TSU was 2 for 2. Individually, Mekhi Higgins 15 of 37, 193 yards, one touchdown, no interceptions. He was sacked once. Wilson, 18 of 32, 143 yards, no touchdown, no interceptions, no sacks. Michael Jamerson, big game for him, 10 carries, 113 yards, average 11 yards per carry. Hagens, 11 for 43, 11 for 49 and two touchdowns. And Wilson, 13 for 36 and a touchdown. Owens, 25 for 143 yards and three touchdowns, average 5.7 yards per carry. Kenji Lewis, four catches, 57 yards and a touchdown. Dawkins, 2 for 51 for Pine Bluff. Blanton, 9 for 87 for Texas Southern. Davis, 3 for 22. Grant Ewell had 15 tackles to lead the Golden Lions. Rico Dozier with 10. Tackles for loss, Ewell had 2. No sacks, forced fumble, Ewell, and they had a team forced fumble and recoveries by Ewell and Arnold. Texas Southern was led in tackles by Hardman with 10. Walker and Javis Williams each had one tackle for loss. Bogarty and Cook each had a half a sack. Forced fumbles went to Williams and a team forced fumble recovery by Simmons, returned 96 yards for a touchdown, no interceptions. This was just a brutal loss. I mean, there's no other way to put it. Losing to a team that's been struggling all year when you up 31-7 at the half is never going to be a good thing, and that's definitely going to always lead to some soul searching. And just now you had to figure out where this team goes. So Pine Bluff gets to go into the offseason with some momentum from a victory. So they got their first taste of SWAC win, and we'll see how they continue. So our next game is the Florida Classic. Rattlers win this game by a score of 24-7. They jumped out to a 17-0 first half lead before Bethune-Cookman finally got on the board in the third quarter. And then the Rattlers will kind of go through it and pull out the victory with a late touchdown in the fourth quarter to kind of seal the deal. But this was a game that FAMU kind of just had control over. Bethune-Cookman tried to get in it but couldn't. Jacoez Jant had a 3-yard run for FAMU with 9:40 left in the first quarter. Extra point good, 7-0. Terrell Jennings would get a 3-yard touchdown run for the Rattlers. Came with 7:56 left in the second quarter. Extra point good. That kept the 11-play, 91-yard drive that took 6:54 of the clock, 14-0. Gillis would get a 44-yard field goal with 3:39 left in the first half. Make the score 17-0. That would be our halftime score. 1:53 left in the third quarter. Walter Simmons, 7-yard run for the Wildcats, extra point good, 17-7. And then Terrell Jennings will get his second touchdown of the night from 35 yards out. That kept the 9-play, 98-yard drive. It took 4:53 off the clock. Extra point good, scored 24-7, and that would be our final score. 17 first downs for the Rattlers, 17 for the Wildcats. 175 yards on the ground for the Rattlers, 29 carries, 6 yards per carry, 3 touchdowns. 122 yards on the ground for Bethune-Cookman, 39 carries, 3.1 yard per carry, 1 touchdown. 150 yards through the air for the Rattlers, 14 of 22, no touchdowns, no interceptions. 112 yards passing for Bethune-Cookman, 11 of 29, no touchdowns, 2 interceptions. 325 yards for the Rattlers, 51 plays, 6.4 yards per play, 2 fumbles, didn't lose either. They had 10 penalties for 65 yards. 234 total offense for the Wildcats, 68 plays, 3.4 yards per play, 2 fumbles, they lost 1. They had 7 penalties for 39 yards. FAMU averaged 45.8 yards per punt, 42.3 for the Wildcats. Time of possession, 29-28 for the Rattlers, 30-32 for the Wildcats. 3 of 8 on third down for FAMU, and they were 0 for 0 on fourth downs. Bethune-Cookman 5 of 15 on third down, 1 for 1 on fourth down, 2 for 2 in the red zone for FAMU, 1 for 1 for Bethune-Cookman. FAMU had 1 sack, Bethune-Cookman none. 3 of 3 on extra points for FAMU, 1 for 1 for Bethune-Cookman. Bethune-Cookman did not attempt a field goal. FAMU was 1 for 1 individually. Jeremy Musa, 14 of 21 for 150 yards, no touchdowns, no interceptions, no sacks. Simmons, 9 of 23 for Bethune-Cookman, 79 yards, no touchdown, 1 interception, 1 sack. Dominique Ponder, 2 for 6 for 33 yards, no touchdowns, 1 interception. Jennings led FAMU with 8 carries for 62 yards and 2 touchdowns, averaged 7.8 yards per carry. Will Holt 8 for 48, averaged 6 yards per carry. Dean 4 for 31, 7.8 yards per carry. Yant 4 for 13 and a touchdown. Robinson led Bethune-Cookman with 21 carries for 74 yards. Simmons 10 for 45 and a touchdown. Shareed 5 catches, 38 yards for FAMU. Dixon 2 for 29, 2 for 29. Young 3 for 27. Gross 2 for 25. Ellington led Bethune-Cookman with 2 catches for 60 yards. Um, Allen, Johnson, and Boyd each had 3 receptions apiece. Boyd had 19 yards. Allen Johnson had 16. Isaiah Major 10 tackles to lead FAMU. Ash 1.5 tackles for loss to lead the team. Cheney had the sack, interception. Smith had 2 on the night. Clement led Bethune-Cookman with 8 tackles. Walls 1.5 tackles for loss to lead the team. No sacks, no interceptions. So, I mean, this was a game, this is a rivalry game, so Bethune-Cookman was going to come to play. FAMU just trying to take care of business to finish off the regular season, undefeated in the conference play, and, get themselves ready for the SWAC championship game, which, is right around the corner. So they were able to run the table through the conference, get the East Division wrapped up early, and not really have a drop-off as they made their way through the schedule. So, big win for the Rattlers as they continue to march their way to the East Division Championship, and now they go to the championship game, and they are now 1 game away from the Celebration Bowl if they were to win that championship game. Alcorn defeated Jackson State by score 28-24. This was a kind of a game of runs if you really want to look at it. Alcorn jumped out to a 14-0 lead before Jackson State scored 2 touchdowns to tie the game up at 14. Alcorn would get a touchdown in the third quarter. JSU would get a touchdown. Then Alcorn would get a touchdown. JSU would get a field goal. So let's look at the scoring in detail. Jarvion Howard will get the Braves on the board with 7:11 left in the first quarter with a 1-yard run. Extra point good. Score 7-0. 5:18 left in the first quarter. Montario Hunt, 55-yard pass from Aaron Allen. Extra point good, 14-0. At that point, it looked like Alcorn was going to run away with the game, but Jackson State would put up a good drive to get their first touchdown, which was a 4-yard touchdown from Morgan to Stevens. Extra point good. That capped the 11-play, 76-yard drive that took 5:53 off the clock. Put the Tigers down by 1 touchdown. With 4:17 left in the second quarter, another nice drive. This time, 9-play drive, 68 yards, took 4:15 off the clock, ended with a 26-yard score from Morgan to McCray. That made the score 14-14, which would be our halftime score. Hunt would get his second touchdown of the night, this time for 33 yards out from Aaron Allen. Extra point good. That capped the 5-play, 75-yard drive that took 2:17 off the clock, came with 12:43 left in the third. Alcorn led 21-14. And then McCray would get a 38-yard pass from Morgan. Extra point good. That came with 6:39 left in the third, 21-21. 3:43 left in the third. Malik Rogers would catch a 12-yard pass from Allen. Extra point good, 28-21. And then Watson would get a 35-yard field goal for Jackson State with 7:12 left in the game to make the score 24-28. Kind of looking at the last couple drives of the game, since the game was close like this, Alcorn, they really wouldn't do it much on their drive after JSU would score. They would basically get the ball at the 25, and they would go 3 and out and punt. Jackson State would get the ball, and then they would kind of not really do much. They would get the ball and punt, basically going 3 and out again and punting. Alcorn would get the ball at the 50-yard line and go 3 and out again, and then they would throw an interception at the JSU 8. Jaheim Hazel intercepted Allen at the 8, and then this drive here really shut the game down. Ezekiel Johnson had a 42-yard run for Jackson State on first down to the 50. Then they would get a 10-yard run to the 40, but that play would be wiped out for holding. So 1st and 20 at the JSU 40, they would get a 4-yard run, but that play would get wiped out because of holding. That would put them at 1st and 30. They would have a face mask penalty on this play, which would put them at 1st and 45 at the 15-yard line. So they basically lost almost every yard they gained on that big run to open up the drive. Then they would get a pass from Brown to McCray for 9 yards to the 31 to set up 3rd and 29. Brown would complete a short pass to Paul for 12 yards to the JSU 43, setting them up with 4th and 17. And then Brown would throw incomplete to McCray, and Alcorn would get the ball with 34 seconds left and run the clock out. So rough last drive. I mean, they had, you had 2 opportunities to kind of do something with it. Alcorn turn the ball over, you get the ball back. Penalties put you back deep in your own territory and just couldn't get out of a hole like that. And you just came up short at the end. 14 first downs for Alcorn, 18 for Jackson State. 71 yards on the ground for Alcorn, 26 carries, 2.7 yards per carry, 1 touchdown. 194 yards on the ground for Jackson State, 32 carries, 6.1 yard per carry, no touchdowns. 225 through the air for Alcorn, 16 of 24, 3 touchdowns, 1 interception. 237 through the air for Jackson State, 22 of 34, 3 touchdowns, 1 interception. 296 yards for Alcorn, 50 plays, 5.9 yards per play. They fumbled twice but didn't lose either one of them. 7 penalties for 55 yards for the Braves. Jackson State, 431 yards of offense on 66 plays, 6.5 yards per play. They fumbled twice but didn't lose either one of them. They had 15 penalties for 125 yards. That's definitely always a game changer in a game like this. Both teams averaged 40 yards per punt. Alcorn 26 minutes and 48-second time of possession. Jackson State 33-12. 3 of 11 on 3rd down for Alcorn, 1 for 1 on 4th down. 7 of 16 for Jackson State on 3rd down, 1 for 2 on 4th down. Alcorn 1 for 1 in the red zone. Jackson State 1 for 2. Jackson State was 2 for 2 in the red zone. Alcorn 2 for 2. Each team had 1 sack apiece. Alcorn was 4 for 4 on extra points. They didn't attempt a field goal. Jackson State 3 of 3 on extra points, and they were 1 for 2 on field goals. Individually, Allen 16 of 24, 225 yards, 3 touchdowns, 1 interception. He was sacked once. Morgan 11 of 16, 151 yards, 3 touchdowns, and no interceptions. He was sacked once. Went out with injury. Brown came in. He was 11 of 18 for 86 yards, no touchdowns, 1 interception. He was not sacked at all. Howard led Alcorn with 18 carries for 70 yards and a touchdown, averaged 3.9 yards per carry. Johnson led Jackson State with 9 carries for 81 yards. He had a 42-yarder, averaged 9 yards per carry. McDonald had 1 carry for 56 yards on the night. Hunt led Alcorn with 2 catches for 88 yards and 2 touchdowns. Rogers, 4 for 68. Griffin, 2 for 43. McCray, 6 catches, 109 yards for Jackson State and 2 touchdowns. Spencer, 7 for 81. Paul, 5 for 35. Ellis led Alcorn with 10 tackles. McDaniel, Henderson, Jones, and Smith each had a tackle for loss. Henderson had a sack, forced fumble. Rice had a forced fumble, no recoveries. Interception went to Ellis. Jackson State was led by Arrington and Hazel with 6 tackles apiece. Peppers, Huggins, and Martin each had a tackle for loss. Peppers had a sack. Interception went to Hazel. So, like I said, this this was a big game, and it was a back and forth affair. Kind of what you want, from a game like this. Ultimately, came down to the end. Alcorn was able to make a couple plays. JSU had some penalties that hurt them at the end, but the Braves end up winning this game and bouncing back from that loss they took on last Sunday to Texas Southern. That puts us at the game of the week, which was Alcorn, Alabama State, and Alabama State and Prairie View. This game basically sealed the deal for the Panthers. They needed to win this game to go to the SWAC championship game. They won their game a little bit before the Jackson State game ended, so the Braves knew at one point that that they were not going to be able to go to the championship game. But this was a typical Bama State type of game, kind of mid to low scoring. Prairie View basically led this game 14 to nothing before the Hornets cut into the lead, and the Panthers were able to establish another score to put them back up by 14 before the Hornets scored late to make the score a little bit closer than what it was. David Murray, two touchdowns on the night. One came with 2:51 left in the first quarter. Uh, that extra point was good, giving them a 7-0 score. Uh, that would be our halftime score. 6:08 left in the third quarter. Murray would get his second touchdown on the night, again from 1 yard out, extra point good. That kept a 15-play, 86-yard drive that took 8:47 off the clock. Panthers led 14 to nothing. 14:46 left in the fourth. Tyrese Saunders caught a 76-yard pass from Damon Stewart. Extra point good. 14 to 7. 8:53 left in the game. Chris Heron caught a 54-yard pass from Trezon Conley. Extra point good. 21 to 7. That was a one-play drive. And then with 16 seconds left on the clock, Saunders would catch a 16-yard pass from Stewart to cap a 6-play, 82-yard drive. That made the final score basically 21-14 before the Hornets could really do anything on that at the end of the game. So basically, Prairie View played the Alabama State game, and they were able to win. They recovered the onside kick, so they basically nailed the clock out after that. But this was the kind of game you kind of expect from a Bama State team. Defense be tough offensively. They couldn't really get it done tonight. Prairie View's defense played pretty well on the ground. Didn't play great through the air. Kind of the way this team has played all season. But 19 first downs for the Hornets, 17 for the Panthers. Only 16 yards rushing for Alabama State on the night. 24 carries, 0.7 yard per carry, no touchdowns. 170 on the ground for Prairie View, 42 carries, 4 yards per carry, 2 touchdowns. 383 through the air for the Hornets. 28 of 39, 2 touchdowns, no interceptions. 109 on through the air for the Panthers. Only 5 of 11 passing, 1 touchdown, 1 interception. 399 total offense for the Hornets. 63 plays, 6.3 yard per play. They fumbled 3 times but didn't lose any of them. They had 2 penalties for 10 yards. 279 total offense for the Panthers. 53 plays, 5.3 yard per play. They fumbled twice but didn't lose either. They only had 1 penalty for 5 yards, so very lightly penalized game here. 40-yard average for Alabama State on punts. 43.5 for Prairie View. Time of possession, 33:58 for Alabama State, 26:02 for the Panthers, 2 of 11 for Alabama State on third down, 4 of 9 for Prairie View on third down, 1 for 3 on fourth down for the Hornets. Prairie View did not attempt a fourth down. 1 of 3 in the red zone for the Hornets, 2 of 2 for the Panthers. No sacks for Alabama State, 4 for Prairie View, 2 of 2 on extra points for the Hornets, 3 of 3 for the Panthers, 0 for 1 on field goals for both teams. Individually, Stewart was 27 of 38 for 372 yards with 2 touchdowns, no interceptions. He was sacked 4 times. AJ Gates, 1 for 1 for 11 yards. Conley, 5 of 11 for 109 yards, 1 touchdown, 1 interception, no sacks. Harris led the Hornets with 6 carries for 13 yards. Gates, 5 for 11. Johnson led Prairie View with 14 carries for 77 yards. Brooks, 7 for 43. And like I said, Murray had 2 touchdowns on 2 carries, so really a great night for him. Saunders led the Hornets with 6 catches for 120 yards and 2 touchdowns. Johnson, 9 for 92. So for probably the first time all season, somebody else other than Keyshawn Johnson led this team in reception, in yardage at least. Johnson still led in receptions. Heron had 1 catch for 54 yards. Savage, 1 for 27. Bloomfield, 1 for 14. Jenkins, 1 for 11. Spiller, 1 for 3. Cunningham led the Hornets with 10 tackles. Ogletree, Adams, Thomas each had one tackle for loss apiece, no sacks. Forced fumble went to Jackson. No interception went to Victor. Prairie View was led by Keyshawn Johnson with 11 tackles. CJ Presley had 2.5 tackles for loss. He also had 1.5 sacks to lead the team. Forced fumbles went to Presley and Bird. No interceptions. So, like I said, this was a tough game. Prairie had to fight it out, but they survived. They kind of had an up and down season, but they did what they needed to do in the game that they needed to do it in, and that's all you want from a team is to win when you need to win, and close the door on all the rest of that controversy and foolishness that would have happened next week. You need to win these games when you have a chance. Last season, Prairie had a chance to go back to the SWAC championship game for the second time in a row, and they faltered. Now they going for the second time in 3 years. So this team, has had a way of kind of being doubted going into the season and finding a way to finish at the top of the standings in the division. And you have to tip your hat to that. They don't get the recognition and praise that a lot of teams get, but they've been steady. This season wasn't great for them in terms of the eye test, but they won the games that they needed to win, and they found themselves in the championship. And at the end of the day, that's all you want is the opportunity to play for that. And from now, who knows? So, like I said, they'll go on to take on FAMU on December 2nd in Tallahassee. So tough reward, but hey, you can't ask for nothing better, to have another chance. But that game is a 3 o'clock kick on ESPN2 on December 2nd. But our Week 13 action, we have two games as usual for the last week of the season. The Turkey Day Classic on November 23rd, which is Thanksgiving. Alabama State hosts Tuskegee. There's a 2 p.m. kick on ESPN Plus, and then the Bayou Classic closes out the SWAC regular season on Saturday, November 25th at 1 o'clock on NBC. Southern and Grambling hook up. The winner has a winning season. Loser finishes 5-6. Winner of the Bayou Classic basically finishes third place. Loser finishes fourth. So not a lot of obviously no championship aspirations, but still, if you're looking at it in a way that you can close out the season in a good fashion, then it's still there for you. Uh, basically, there's one conference game left in the season for anybody. So the season standings are pretty much secure in the East. FAMU is 8-0, 10-1 overall. They've won 9 games in a row. Jackson State and Alabama State both finished tied at 5-3. Bama State would get the tiebreaker in that situation, but it don't really matter here. Both teams are 5-3. Jackson State is 7-4. Bama State is 6-4 with one out of conference game remaining. They both have lost one game at this point in terms of streaks. Alabama A&M is 3-5, 5-6. Bethune-Cookman 3-5, 4-7. Valley is 1-7 and 1-10. In the West, Prairie View wins the tiebreaker over Alcorn because they beat them head to head. Both teams are 6-2. Alcorn is 7-4 overall. Prairie View is 6-5. Panthers have won 3 games in a row. It's coming off of that loss to FAMU. Southern is 4-3, 5-5 overall. Grambling 4-3, 5-5 overall. Southern's lost 2 in a row. Grambling has won their last game. Texas Southern is 2-6 in conference, 3-8 overall, and Pine Bluff is 1-7 and 2-9 overall. So no winless teams at all in the conference, so that's good. FAMU is the only team to run the table, so really good. It wasn't the greatest season in terms of SWAC football. I mean, there had a lot of teams who kind of didn't play with the consistency that you would like, but you can't ask for a whole lot more than to have 2 teams face off in the championship. And we'll see what happens. Who goes to Celebration Bowl in a couple of weeks? So that's gonna do it for today's show. Don't forget on Monday. Don't forget on Monday is our SWAC men's basketball preview coming at you. Tuesday is our HBCU point spread and HBCU top 10 show. Wednesday is our week 13 preview. Probably Friday. I'm aiming for Friday. Will be our SWAC women's basketball preview. Thursday is SWAC Smoke live, 6 p.m. Central, 7 p.m. Eastern. And our week 13 recap comes on Sunday. And then Tuesday is our final regular season HBCU top 10 before we head into the postseason. So that's gonna do it for today's show, man. I thank y'all for tuning in and rocking with us, and we'll catch y'all on the rebound. Peace.